Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is the new feature we are releasing that is called Map2Earn, and we see that as the gateway to the augmented reality metaverse. And I will explain you why we believe that this is such an important piece of infrastructure. So, first of all, what's that augmented reality metaverse? So it's a fusion between what is the physical and the virtual world that is enabled by geolocalized AR. So the idea is really to edit the physical world. It's a place where you can own assets, you can play, you can meet people, and you can earn, because this project is powered by Web3, so people own assets. And finally, we see this as the new way people will interact with information. So we will move from a 2D world to where we consume information, to a world that is augmented with augmented reality assets. But why augmented reality in the first place? So the first observation is that we will not spend most of our life just with some occlusive headset in our faces. I mean, we are physical beings, we live in the physical world. Secondly, our brains are actually wired to process 3D information. And you can kind of get it when you see, for example, people like Apple that are making so many efforts in showcasing their products in AR. Why they do that? Because when you see something merged with the physical world, you get a much stronger impression of that object. I mean, we really, our brains like to consume that kind of information. And finally, if we think also about what are the means to actually get this kind of information. So right now, for VR, you have VR headsets, and for augmented reality, since we don't have smart glasses yet, the means that you can use is mobile phones, I mean smartphones. And if you look at the numbers, I mean, there is order of magnitude more smartphones out there than headsets. And finally, smart glasses are coming. I mean, rumors are that the first quarter of 2023, Apple will release their smart glasses. Probably will be passed through, but still, I mean, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen more and more in the next year and a year after. So, but how do you build an augmented reality metaverse? What are the building blocks of this metaverse? So, in our vision, there is 3 main building blocks. So there is the OVR lens, or the spatial ownership layer. There is the mapping layer that I will focus on. And finally, you need some software to publish content in this metaverse. I will focus on the first 2. And so let's start from these spatial domains. And in this example, you see a comparison between spatial domains in the Dcentral and on OVR. So with the Dcentral or any other VR metaverse, you basically have a virtual map, totally unlinked with the physical world. While with OVR, what you basically have, you have a map that is one-to-one to the physical world. So you really are talking about that specific geographic coordinates. And regarding the experience, again, to give you a sense of that, so this is an occlusive VR experience, for example, the Dcentral, and on the right side, you have our own experience, so this augmented reality, so this fusion between the virtual and the physical world. And just to reinforce the idea of what are these OVR lands, so these are spatial domains, and a good comparison is the web. So in the web, you buy a web domain, and since you own it, you can control what will be the internet page that you publish. In OVR and in augmented reality metaverses in general, you own geographic coordinates. So you're not gonna publish on 2D on the internet, but you're gonna edit that geographic location that you basically own. And finally, now a question, okay, cool, but why don't we see all of these use cases for AR right now? Why the only use case that was successful lately was Pokemon Go? And the reason why is quite simple. There is a big barrier to create this augmented reality metaverse, and the barrier is localization accuracy. So if you're building a system like Pokemon Go, you don't really care about where assets are. But if you want to, I mean, merge the physical and the virtual, edit it with precise way, you need a system that goes beyond the precision of GPS. That outdoor works quite fine, maybe 4 meters, something like that, but indoor, where we spend most of our life, actually GPS doesn't work. So we need a system to actually locate assets in space that is not GPS, and we need a system that is not owned by Google, Niantic, or Microsoft that actually are working on that, because otherwise, basically they become the gatekeepers of this metaverse, and they were gonna extract the value from users like they are doing already today. So the solution to this is what we call OVR land mapping, or Map2Earn. And basically, we built some AI technology that creates three kinds of outputs. So one is a 3D point cloud of the location that was mapped. Second is a nerve simulation, so neural radiant spin simulation that basically hallucinates the location, creates a digital twin. I will talk about more later. And finally, we have algorithms to precise geolocate assets. So if I want an avatar to be seated exactly there, with this system I can do that, because I can go down to 20 centimeters accuracy, both indoor and outdoor. But so how do you do this? So in order to create this map, we create a system that just needs normal smartphone. So no LiDAR needed. $100 smartphone will do the job. And finally, this mapping system is enabled by a crowd of people, of community members that want to engage in this community and will get some value out of that in form of owning the map and also in form of NFT, tokens that we will use to incentivize them. And this is an example of the output that you can get. I did it personally, it took me 3 minutes of taking pictures. And as you see from these pictures, I generated a 3D point cloud of that location. So now I want something, I don't know, an avatar exactly seated on that table on the right will be exactly on that table in reality. And this is a simulation of a digital twin that also we can generate from the same data. So I take just few pictures, but from these pictures, neural networks can actually simulate other views that were not seen before. And if you think about that, this is also about generating a digital twin of the physical world. And this is very powerful because it solves a very big problem of AR. AR is cool, but it's not accessible from everywhere, especially if you do geolocalized AR. But if you build a digital twin of the physical world, you can have a remote experience that is exactly the same that you can have in the physical location. And to understand better what I mean, I'm going to show you the same location of before, but where I navigate freely inside the space. So this is the wall hallucination of this neural network I was mentioning you. So as you see, I built a digital twin of this location. And all that took to me was just 3 to 5 minutes taking few pictures of this nice place in Laguna Beach. So why is it important that we build this in Web3? Of course, because who is going to own this data? So it takes job to do this. You need to go in places and take pictures. So since we are in the Web3 paradigm and we have the means to allow people to own that, we decide to build that in Web3. And people, when they do this mapping, they actually generate an NFT that they own. They can sell it to us as a company. They can sell it to other people that want their place to be mapped, and maybe they are not there physically. So it's just an NFT, and you can move around freely. But finally, why is this important? Because if we think about Google Maps have 1 billion monthly users. So this gives you a hint on how valuable is the 3D structure of the world, and why we should build an alternative to these big companies to actually own this data. And finally, now I think you understand that we have the crazy idea of mapping the world. And yes, we are big dreamers, but of course we know that we cannot map the whole world. We cannot do the same that Google does. But this is not our focus. Our focus is mapping famous locations in the world. And the way we're going to do it is by leveraging what we already have in our platform. So we have a community of people that participated to a game like Pokemon Go and physically went to 1.6 million locations to collect tokens and NFTs from other projects. So these people are play-to-earn people, are people that are doing that to earn inside the metaverse. So we are going to give them another opportunity to earn in the metaverse instead of playing mapping physical places. And finally, there is another big problem. Where do we send them? What place do we incentivize? Well, up to now, we sold 860,000 of these spatial domains I was mentioning you to. And if you think about that, this is the wisdom of the crowds on what are the good locations in the world, because people voted paying with their tokens on what are the good locations. So we will start incentivizing the best, the most important venues in the world, and those venues will be able to be augmented very precisely and also to have a digital twin. So finally, where we are now, so this is the path to this creation of this metaverse. So we started selling the lens, as I mentioned you. We have the SDK for creating the asset that is already running. And we are just launching this week this mapping layer in beta. Right now it's in alpha. We have 300 people testing it. And this week we are finally ready to go open to the public. So just a few numbers of where we are right now in terms of development of our company. So we have 940,000 registered users, 1.6 million locations explored, as I mentioned you before, 600,000 downloads of the app, 860,000 lands that have been sold, 35 employees, all proudly based in Italy, and we generated 12 million in the last 20 months. And finally, I will do something that you should never do in a presentation, but I think is good to showcase you what is the platform now, since I just talked to you about the future until now. And here we go on what we have built so far. So here you will be able to see the mapping layer, the layer on the world that I was mentioning before. So the world divided in hexagons. So this is the hexagon that we've been selling. This is the mapping interface. And so this is what you generate, the 3D point cloud. And this is the NERF, the neural render simulation that I was mentioning you. Then also we will see that we have avatars. So we create for you photorealistic avatars from a single picture of your face. And you will be able also to actually customize these avatars with digital clothes. Interesting thing also, these avatars map your facial expressions. So it's a very nice way to create events where you meet other people. And here are just some examples of AR experiences. This is a treasure hunt that I was mentioning you before, or objects that you can actually project in AR. This is assets from other metaverses that we integrated. So this is, for example, Sandbox. If you own a Sandbox NFT, you can actually play with it in AR. So we're really into this vision of merging the metaverse through the NFT standard. And finally, this is an oclusive experience. So for example, this is concerts that you can build on our platform. So this is what we have been building so far. And thanks a lot for your attention. Here we have a QR code. So if you want, for example, to test the alpha version of the mapping, you can just do that by subscribing. Thank you very much for your attention.